right, so the two sides are not in agreement on this. Pennsylvania Republican Congressman, member of the Homeland Security and Small Business Committees, Joyce, with us right now. Congressman, welcome to you.
Good morning, Neil, and thank you for having me here on such an important time.
What do you think happens with all of this?
I'll tell you, the American people are seeing through this. What Americans want is a fair and transparent process, and that's not what's been put through. This impeachment inquiry is a sham, and with the Soviet style that has been presented with a clandestine hearings, with members of Congress not being able to read the transcripts, and I've requested to read those. Americans are seeing through it, and they realize that the president is not being allowed due process.
All right, but it's the exact same process, is it not, sir, that Republicans utilized during the early stages of the Clinton impeachment investigation, right?
But moving forward, the president was allowed to have representation, and that has been removed.
Well, moving forward is when you get out of that stage of interviewing, right? And Bill Clinton was at that point. And the promise is, and maybe you're right to be skeptical, the same will apply to the president here.
But Schiff is functioning as witness, as prosecutor, and judge and jury. We need to have a fair and open and transparent process. And what the Republicans have done is request the ability to see what's going on. And yesterday, on very partisan lines, an impeachment inquiry was voted through. And just in March, Nancy Pelosi said, we will not proceed unless there is a bipartisan vote. That didn't happen yesterday. This was a partisan vote and a continuation of the witch hunt. We thought Halloween ended yesterday. The witch hunt continues.
Congressman, hi, James Freeman of the Wall Street Journal. I want to ask you about that issue. Very different from previous efforts. You had a huge bipartisan vote beginning the inquiry on Richard Nixon. You had 31 Democrats voting along with Republicans to start the inquiry on Bill Clinton. This case, an entirely partisan vote, except 2 Democrats voting with all the Republicans against. This is not. I'm just wondering, did Speaker Pelosi make any effort to say to you and other Republicans, OK, we'll open up the process, we'll go with the same rules we had with Nixon and Clinton in order to try and get you on board for an inquiry? Or was she kind of satisfied having this be a partisan statement and maybe understanding it's going to go no further?
Clearly, it's a partisan statement. It started with a press conference, and it's proceeded in a partisan way. The only bipartisan vote was when some Democrats voted with us to turn down this process.
Congressman Danny Hughes from Divine Asset. I'm just curious to know, with respect to transparency, what is it that you would actually like to see from the Democrats when we talk about transparency?
From day one, as a member of the 116th Congress, I should be allowed to read the transcripts. I've gone down to the SCIF and requested to see what has already been presented. But I wasn't allowed to do that. And so we do a vote without that transparency, without that open process. The American people demand a fair and open process, and we haven't seen that. The president has not been allowed the due process that he should be allowed, which traditionally, as you pointed out, did occur in both with President Nixon and with President Clinton.
Hi, John Lansky of Moody's, and I'm asking, what is Congress hearing from constituents regarding this matter? Are you getting a lot of, constituents claim that you have to push forward with the impeachment inquiry, or are they telling you that they think it's a big mistake?
That's a great question. I hear from phone calls, and I hear when I go home every weekend, protect the president. Make this a fair and open process. Pennsylvania 13 overwhelmingly supports President, and President Trump was elected, and my constituents feel that this impeachment process is trying to remove their vote. They know that they support the president. They tell me to come to Washington and continue to support the president. And I'll make a prediction for you here today. President Trump will again win Pennsylvania, and he will do that by a bigger margin than we saw in 2016. 2020, President Trump takes Pennsylvania.
Congressman, I think I know where you are on the impeachment thing, but I'm curious, the fact that the president did call the leader of Ukraine and did ask him to investigate or get to the bottom of the Biden's activities in Ukraine. On any level, does that bother you?
There was no quid pro quo.
That's not what I'm asking. On any level, does it bother you that he inserted himself on potentially a foreign leader in a U.S. election?
This is something that should be investigated. It's quite concerning that someone would be paid $50,000 a month with no background in energy, no background in
No, I get that, sir, and I don't mean to be rude, but on just the surface of that, would the president have had this interest if it were anybody else but Joe Biden, who could be his opponent in the next election, inserting a foreign government in another U.S. election so soon after Russian involvement in the last one?
I think this is something that needed to be investigated. I think this was a question that needed to be asked.
So when you say it needed to be asked, regardless of how it looks, now obviously you don't find that an impeachable offense. There are a number of Democrats clearly who do. Let's assume the House goes ahead and follows up on that and impeaches him. I imagine it would be a tough road in the Senate. Is it your fear, though, that rightly or wrongly, the president will have that badge on him that he has been impeached in the House of Representatives? He would be the first one then to try to stand for re-election after something like that. Does that worry you?
It does not worry me. I think what is clear is that Democrats are trying to go after the president with impeachment because they know he will again be reelected and successful in the ballot box.
All right. Congressman, thank you very much for taking the time. John Joyce,
Thank you.
The beautiful state of Pennsylvania. All right, coming up.